next, we're gonna talk about like prompt engineering and instruction lab fine tuning. So what would be prompt engineering, right? As I told you in early this presentation, we pretty much prompt the LLM, right, and expect a completion, right? Providing like a context window where you pretty much in this case here, this example is like question answering. You ask, as the example we also shared in the video, what were the company's net revenues, and you expect an answer, right? But it involves much more, and that's a whole new rising domain area of expertise. So we can move on to the next slide, and it's going to show like what will be like is an example of zero shot. So on zero shot, what you have to do is like providing the LLM with a question, in this case, in question answer, and expecting an answer, and you leave it pretty much blank, and you define the role of the LLM you should play. In this case, is the financial advisor, and so like you can elaborate more here and expect an answer. So if it doesn't work, you can still go into passing more examples. So into one shot, if you move to the next slide. So you pretty much show like you can provide the answer to the LLM in the prompt, into the prompt that you do like in one example, pretty much the same, and expect an answer coming out of the next question that you pass. And you can keep going on and do that up until what we call few shot. So when you reach around 5 to 6 examples and you still don't see a good performance, a satisfactory performance on your model, we move, then it's maybe time an indication that you should fine tune. So when you fine tune in your pre-trained model with instruction, that's very powerful as a new practice now. What we do is we combine those two approaches, like fine tuning the pre-trained model on new data, and you define also insert into this new data that you're going to pass to this specific task. What will be the role of the model, and also providing like the prompts into every example, and you end up with a fine-tuned LLM. And they'll always bear in mind here there's a few trade-offs in this case, which involving fine-tuning. As any model, you're gonna update all the parameters, right? So to that specific task you're fine-tuning, you're gonna find improved results most likely, and but it can depreciate the performance on the multimodality ability of the LLM, right? Coming to other tasks, what we call the term like catastrophic forgetting, right? Moving on with fine tuning. So just bear in mind on this. Yeah, sure.
A question. So if someone were to do this with, say, ChatGPT, what would it involve, and what kind of a skill set do the person need to have? Do they need to be sort of whiz coder, or there are basically ready-made packages or approaches that people can do to do it with ChatGPT?
Yeah, to do it, if you move on to the next, I think yes, it's I think somewhat there. So what we pretty much do, I put it there to share a few sample prompts on instructional lab fine tuning, right? What we add, so coming from the news article, what's highlighted there in white, to a sentiment analysis or text classification task, you pretty much insert into the data. So those are the skills we should do fine tuning, I'm saying, right? You pretty much would have to handle this data manipulation here. in this new data set you're going to fine tune, right? And plugging into this instructions, all your data, right? And in the model example, an agent, question answer. So the case that we had here, like, you are an excellent where we instruct, like giving the model, providing its role. So you always prompt in English, and you provide additional more instructions in the query of the scope from the document. Answer back to if it's out of scope, we just give you like this sort of like a guardrail here. And in the end, here's the prompt to carry. It's pretty much saying like, so prompting the LLM in the typical style of a ChatGPT, right? But in the development environment. What you would do like in your tailor-made GPT style, you're gonna build, you pass into these examples, and this new system that you're gonna build will be specialized in this new area, right? So if you move on to the next slide, Kim, so the fine tuning is.
One follow-up question, Raul. I know
Sure.
Financial industry especially are concerned that if they are basically using sort of prop data, is this going to sort of end up on some server outside of the company, or is this going to basically remain on your own server? In other words, are you giving away some insider information?
Yeah,
it
would.
Oh, you want to answer that, Abby?
Yeah, I was going to say, Hussein, there's a slide that I'm going to cover, because here, let me just bifurcate two things here, right? If we go to that chatbot, I think it's chat.openai, whatever, right? So to actually use ChatGPT, and we start pumping things in, there's a disclosure they give you right there that, hey, whatever you put here, we may use that, for, as a human feedback to, fine tune, do some reinforcement learning with that. But what we're talking about here is when we start to use API calls to OpenAI, a GPT-3 model to, against our domain knowledge, right? There are many things that happen. The short answer is that there's no way of getting around, if you want to do what we are saying, of some of your domain knowledge getting somewhere, right? And I'll unpack that more. So let me bifurcate the bifurcation.
Yeah, but to add to that, Avi, I would say like you can always go open source, right? We're seeing like some open source models out there, such as the Falcon one, the Llama 2 from Meta AI, and at the end, it will be about your choices, and it's all about, I can say from experience, it's all about the trade-offs you typically make on performance, and also some constraints you might add to your system, right? Such as like privacy concerns and so, right? Also on the performance. Right now, I can say like it's been hard to beat like a GPT-4, for instance, and and always bear in mind on this, right? For the sake of like effectiveness and performance, we're dealing with a trillion parameter size model, right? Which is like what's the gossip that's out there, right? So coming back to your presentation, when you're fine tuning, you come back to the same typical model training you do. You make the same choices, right? You add this additional data you're gonna do. You do the splits on training, development, and test, maybe, right? And you choose the pre-trained model with the weights already prepared, the knowledge acquired, right? And you pass in the instruction lab, right? With the prompt, the question, and the answers, like, and you have to make the same choices. If you're maybe changing the task a little bit, you have to make some choices on the loss, and then you end up with fine-tuned large language models, specialized in this new domain, right?